Are you living your life by design, or are you living your life by default? Let's find out in this interview with Trav Bell, the bucket list guy. All right, Mr. Trav Bell joining us all the way from Australia. I appreciate you making the time for the podcast today.
Hey, Miles. Yeah, glad to be on here. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Sure. So you're known as the bucket list guy.
Yep.
First hard-hitting question is, do you love the movie?
I love the movie. That's a really good question, actually. I love the movie because of what it represents. But when I speak in public, I must admit that I get stuck into the movie. I belittle it because it's really about two guys that get given a cancer diagnosis and then they write a bucket list on the back of that diagnosis. And my whole philosophy is I want to wake people up before they get given a use-by date.
Sure. Yeah, so you can, I'm sure most people make that joke, right? And then you can bring it right back to reality. Like, yeah, you can like the movie, but it's actually a shame the way they go about finding the magic of a bucket list, right? You shouldn't have to wait.
Yeah, well, the thing, we shouldn't have to wait until we're slapped with such an emotional and traumatic, diagnosis. Unfortunately, in the years that I've been running around the world as the bucket list guy for about 10 years now, and unfortunately, people are stupid. They need to be woke. They
Sure.
reprioritize on the most reprioritize on the back of a diagnosis, or whether it's them or one of their friends or family members, someone close to them within their ecosystem, gets given a use-by date, and that's the impetus for change. We shouldn't have to wait until it's too late. We shouldn't have to wait, and that's why I get stuck into the movie. Sure, a bucket list is a great thing. It's using death as a motivator, but I want to wake people up, help them be happier now rather than wait until when it's too late. Because we've all got examples around us where people have waited too late and they've, possibly left them to lead a life of regret. Leave a bunch of regrets on the table. I want people to live a regret-free life, not a regretful life.
Yeah, I love this phrase you introduced too about a use-by date, because when you really start to think about it, we all have a use-by date, an expiration date. The idea of death. Every day we're living is another day we're also dying, right? We're all moving towards that.
Yeah.
So
on this happy Relish the Journey podcast,
Sunshine and Rainbows, brought to you by Relish the Journey.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this,
thanks for the motivational talk.
Where I'm going with this is, like, we all have one. Whether or not we know what the date is, the date exists. So we shouldn't have to wait until someone says you've got 1 month left. We should always be, squeezing as much out of life as possible, right? And so I like, I like that phrase.
But we all know it, but we're just not conscious to it. And unfortunately, this use-by date, given a use-by date, it makes it really conscious really fast. And we're so busy being busy that we forget we're busy on our to-do list, but not on our bucket list until it's too late. So, when people hang out with me, whether it be through one of our bucket list coaches that are running around the world now, we've got bucket list coaches, certified bucket list coaches now in 21 countries.
Oh, nice.
Me as a speaker, me as a coach, our whole thing is to help people be happier now. Help people not wait until it's too late, to separate their daily to-do list from their bucket list and get them to take action on the things that bring them meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in their life. And it's as simple as that. But yet we are so busy being busy. It's like this weird badge of honor that we wear,
right,
that we use on a day-to-day basis now. How are you, mate? Oh, I'm busy. What are you, bragging or complaining? So the deal is, I have seen, and you've probably seen as well, that we've got too many examples of people that wish they had more time. And look, guys, let's act as if. What's wrong with that?
Right. So what was it for you that woke you up to the idea of the bucket list to the point where you are the bucket list guy? If it wasn't getting an expiration date handed to you, right? What was the moment that made it click
No.
for you so much so that you built an entire persona and business around it?
Yeah, it kind of happened. Quick backstory. I went through a bout of depression myself. And when I talk about my depression against some of the examples that we see around us, mine was very mild. But instead of going into like full on antidepressants and getting onto the prescription medication, which I knew a lot of other people were on, and they were kind of walking around like zombies, not being their true self. And let's be honest, a lot of that medication is a band-aid, certainly not getting to the cause.
Right.
So I wanted to get to the cause because I've always been fascinated in psychology. So I wanted to get to the heart, the cause, the root of why I was thinking the way I was thinking, why I was so. There was a lot of unresolved stuff that I had to deal with. So, we're all on that growth, journey. I'm all still uncovering stuff to this day, 10 years later, of why I do certain things. But at the end of the day, I found myself in life coaching courses, learning positive psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, all the social dynamics, law of attraction, the Carnegie principle, all these sorts of things. These are all just tools, psychology tools to help me work myself out. And it wasn't until a friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you teach this shit?"
Right.
So you're in these seminars every single day, every single weekend, spending a bunch of money, and that actually helped me compartmentalize what I was actually going through. It's like, yeah, I'm here to teach. So I put on a seminar. I had about 40 people. Nearly had to pay the 40 people that turned up to my first public seminar. I was absolutely shitting myself. And I packaged in all the stuff that I've been learning, all my entrepreneurial history as well, and started sharing the fact that I had a list to do before I die, actually written down since I was 18. This is about 10 years ago. I'm 47 now. And so I shared this list, and it inspired people. It was really good. I'd done a lot of stuff in my life. I didn't really think of anything of it. I thought a lot of people kind of lived the same as I did. But when I surveyed the room, who else has a list to do before they die actually written down like me? And I was the only freak in the room. So I'm like, oh, well, let's get to writing. What do you want to do? And let's make it real. And so we went through this process, and that sort of it went from a crappy seminar to a not so crappy seminar. And I was as nervous as hell. And right at the end of it, during Q&A time, Joe, one of the participants there, said, "Oh, how's this list to do before you die stuff has really fired everyone up. It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy." And I went, "Ping," light bulb moment, went home, registered thebucketlistguy.com, and I've been doing that ever since.
Love it. I love it when it's organic like that, and it's sort of like bestowed upon you, right, by someone else, and not something you're trying to make fit.
Yeah, but spoiler alert, Miles, is I was on the Google machine. Yeah. I was on, and I was like, oh, when I registered the domain name, I was like, oh yeah, who's like the Mac Daddy? Who's like the king? Who's like the expert of bucket lists in the world? Oh, look, no one. So I called myself the world's #1 bucket list expert. And that's how I get referred to these days.
That's funny.
So I called myself, you got to look in business, mate. You got to stake your claim. So I've just gone global. Why the hell not? A little Aussie battler staking his claim as the world's best. Why not? But it's really funny because I get on things like podcasts and in media, and I get called up for articles and whatever else. And now, it was this a few years ago. It was a Washington Journal or a magazine or something like that said, "Oh, we're doing a big spread on bucket lists, and we've interviewed all these other people, and they've been running around. But you're the world's #1 bucket list expert. And we really want to have you as a centerpiece. And I'm like, yep, you got me. I'm super busy,
Here
super
I am.
important.
Yeah.
You got me. Here I am. I'm really not that busy, but like being the world's number
That's
one.
funny.
So they really wanted my input. But look, pick a highway, pick a lane, then own the lane, and that's what we've done. Instead of going a mile deep and an inch wide, I decided with this level of this thought leadership, as we call it, is to go an inch wide, being bucket list, and then a mile deep. So we've created, thanks to my team and the team around me, we've created a lot of good intellectual property around this whole concept of bucket list, gone deeper, leveraged the brand, leveraged the message through our certified bucket list coach tribe now around the world. And they're all now out there teaching my stuff, which is pretty cool. When I play, when I'm not speaking on stages, which there's not a lot of happening of that of late because of the Corona cyclone. No big events. So yeah, we're helping people online and helping people through our coaches, teach this stuff. And so it's not just me anymore. It's these coaches have run with the baton, and they're helping people in their respective parts of the world, which is really cool. So, the big driver behind this is to help people, through things like depression, give them the tools to self-manage. Anxiety. We've got this thing called a loneliness epidemic now. That's a real thing. And so we want to wake people up all around the world, give them another perspective to look at their life through. This is mainly what I teach is mainly based on positive psychology, and that is the science of happiness. So we want the world to be a happier place, to live more on purpose rather than by, live. I always say stop living by default, live by design. And, we know that there's a lot of people, mate, dying at 40 and being buried at 80, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I have heard phrase something like that before, which it's so true. And they don't even realize it. It's like you're a zombie, you're the Walking Dead, right?
Yes, a lot of people sleepwalking through their life. They're just existing, not living. And, and we only need so many ways. Some people don't wake up. And I'm not saying that people should need to or must live like this, live their bucket list more publicly or anything like that. But I've just seen too many examples of people that have woken up on the back of, like we said before, a use-by date or a friend or family member passing away and having regrets. And that's what they needed to have happen in their life for them to wake up. We want to get in there early.
Yeah. And I like the idea of going back to your whole idea of being the world's number one, right? That aspirational portion of it, which I think part of it is true for bucket lists as well. But I've seen that happen for me, where I just threw out as a whim when I started this podcast that I wanted to interview the world. And it started with like my parents and my cousins and fraternity brothers from college and, people that are on my phone. But look, you're in Australia. I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm interviewing people all over the world now. It happened. But it happened partially because I put it out there and then just took action towards that, put myself in the spot to make it happen. And now I'm interviewing people all over the world. So do you find part of that is with the actual bucket list itself? Like when you're living by design, not by default, you help people design these bucket lists, and then instead of their life not being in control and then feeling depressed, they're taking control and going out and, those aspirations of those wild things that they say one day I want to get done before I die end up happening like that year, like they get through the list real quick.
We turn everyone into like a sponsored Red Bull extreme athlete, like no, we have everyone, within a month of coming into contact with our community, all base jumping, it's what it is. And we're not presupposing or arrogant enough to suggest that this way of living is better than what they're currently experiencing. It's just another set of tools to help people look at their life through and maybe live their life through. I say a bucket list is a tangible life plan where our career plan or our business plan should fit into our life plan and not be the other way around. So we really bring home that work to live principle. But you can ask most people what their goals are in life, and quite commonly here in Australia, and I know in America, it's like, pay off the house, pay off the mortgage, put the kids through school or college, and do a bit of travel when I'm older. Yeah, dude, and probably sicker.
Sure.
We live in a delayed gratification society. I'll be happy when syndrome, waiting for the perfect time or someday to come around, and someday ain't a day of the week. Now, meanwhile, on the other end, depression is going up. The overprescription of antidepressants is going through the roof. Loneliness epidemic, as I mentioned before, is skyrocketing. So there's something wrong. We've got to help people, be happier now. And it's okay. And there's a lot of people that are just disengaged in their life, and this helps them get more engaged. And, I'd encourage everyone to look at these, not just about running around the world doing, stupid stunts. It's way more than that. I did a TEDx talk a few years ago. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's called Life's Too Short by Trav Bell, me. And I've got a bit of a different haircut in that. I've got a mohawk in that. That was my midlife crisis. I won't swear, but when I turned 40, I got it. If that might give you some indication of, of going against the grain. But the point is, over the last 10 years of running around the world speaking about this, living it myself, it's just helped too many people not for us to play a really big game and get it out to the masses. And it really has helped people live more deliberately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love
that
idea.
Live with more intention. Yeah, live with more intention and stop sleepwalking, stop Groundhog Days, or, and people have done some freaking amazing stuff around us. So it's like, well, let's play a really big game. Let's leverage this through our coaches and start getting it out there around the world.
So what's step one? People listening to this, they're feeling what you're saying. They're like, okay, Trav, I'm here. I'm listening. Where do they begin?
Yeah.
Right. If I want to sit down and write my bucket list, do you have like a framework you advise people to follow?
Oh yeah, I do. And that's what I did the TED talk on. It was what I call the My Bucket List Blueprint. It's a 12-step or 12-letter acronym, My Bucket List, 12-letter acronym for how to write a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list. So it's a 12-step program, Miles, and it sounds a little bit like AA, but and you might need a drink at the end of it. But the point is that what it does is helps you sort of I introduced it to allow people to unpack what's inside their head, to allow them to go north, south, east, west in their own brain and help them extract and articulate a personally meaningful and holistic list. So the thing is, step one, probably watch the TED talk. That'll give you an overview of what this thing is. It'll give you the skeleton. Then it's up to you to put meat on the bones. And how you put meat on the bones is actually writing stuff down. Don't just write out the blueprint, but actually write stuff down. Did you know that you've got a 42% more likelihood of things actually manifesting in your life if you actually just write shit down on a piece of paper? Most people don't do it. If I asked all your, 1,000 people listening to this right now, so who writes down their goals? Who just writes their goals down, let alone a bucket list? I can guarantee about 10%.
Yeah, it'd be really slim.
It really is, man. And I do this live. I can go speak at a conference and I'll ask 1,000 people in front of me. I did it during the TED talk. There was 2,000 people in front of me when I did that TED talk. And I asked the 2,000 people, who has a bucket list, and people are like, yeah, I do. And they put up their hands, nearly 2,000 people. I say, all right, who's actually written it down? Like, and don't kid yourself. Who's actually written it down? And it'd be like 20% sheepishly put up their hands or proudly put up their hands. Right. And it'd be 20% that put up their hands, but 10% will put up their hands quite as sheepishly. It's like, all right, guy who's kind of putting up his hand, but not really. You haven't really written it down, have you? You're just putting up your hand to put up your hand, aren't you? Yeah. So have you actually written it down? Well, no. All right, put down your hand. You haven't actually done it. Oh, but I've got one. No, because your bucket list is up there with your daily to-do list. It's swimming around in this soup called your brain. And guess which one gets done on a day-to-day basis as first priority? It's your to-do list, all right? And again, we're so busy on our to-do list that we forget about our bucket list until something traumatic or dramatic happens. So if you actually write stuff down, you've got a 42% more likelihood of actually manifesting, of actually showing up. 42%. Studies suggest. So you might as well take the first step, create a space, take time out of your life to work on your life, get a book, actually get this. Remember these things called pens and paper? You remember those?
Sure. They even have pencils where you can erase if you make a mistake,
I know. I got these things called erasers and pencils back in the day. And actually putting pen to paper, getting off your phone. I know that's a revelation for some, but getting away from your computer, getting away from your phone, go the almighty pen and paper and start writing some stuff down. Unpack it, get it out of your head, because writing it down makes it just more real. All right,
yeah. And it makes it actually real.
Whole,
right? Like it's actually like a physical thing in the world now. That list. So.
Yeah, and now go and get a Google image. Go find a Google image that best represents that for you. Whether you're in the picture, out of the picture, associated, disassociated. What is, you want to go to Antarctica. There is a million pictures of people in Antarctica. Go find the one that really resonates with you, that you can associate with the most. And that is the best visual representation. 70% of us are visual learners. So go get that picture that best represents that particular bucket list item for you. So that's the thing that needs to be around you on a day-to-day basis in high traffic areas. Maybe as a screensaver. Maybe as as what we do these things called a bucket list board workshop, where we unpack and we put all these things onto like a vision board or a dream board. We do a little bit differently, but that becomes part of your maybe the travel adventures in the My Bucket List Blueprint, Antarctica. But what else? Let's get a heap of these images. Let's find them and let them consciously and unconsciously inspire you, and then go do something. Actually go do something. So a lot of these travel ones, where a lot of people think a bucket list is all about travel, but travel takes a lot of resources, time and money. And that's why a lot of people get despondent. They don't go after their bucket list because they think it's all about travel. That's way off in the distance. No, but when you go through the My Bucket List Blueprint, you realize that you can go and do things like straight away. And those little things, those doable things, is exactly the steps that you need to take to cross those things off. That'll give you the momentum and motivation to smash through the bigger ones. This is about choosing happiness and then going and taking action on your happiness with a deliberate intent. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. It does. I'm curious, cool. As you look back on, when you wrote down that bucket list for yourself, you said at 18, you gave that first seminar. Now you've got other coaches on your team. You're speaking to thousands. How would you describe your whole journey, becoming the bucket list guy? How would you describe it all in 3 words?
I'm going to describe it in 4 or 5 words. What I do is a reflection of my values. That was more than 5 words. What I do, bucket list guy, is a reflection of me.
Reflection
it's my
of
values.
Yeah.
It's my values fleshed out. It's my values monetized. So I had no idea when I registered the bucket list guy and hashtag world's #1 bucket list expert. I was like, how the hell am I going to make this? Just feels right. How am I going to make money from this? And so, the cool and I love, look, the big domino for me was actually public speaking. So I was shit scared of it. Right. So I I saw a speaker around that time and in all the courses that I was going to, and I was like, dude, if I could do that, I could do anything. And, as you know, public speaking is like the most feared thing on earth. People would rather be in the box than give the eulogy, for God's sake. And for me, public speaking was the big domino that I knew I had to push over, that did affect a lot of areas in my life and gave me a level of confidence. With that, I created a keynote presentation. I created some events. I put on those events, did corporate keynotes. And the cool thing is I get flown around the world to speak to groups, inspire groups, and do a bit of bucket listing on the side.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
It was basically, mate, it was basically, I'd hate to say, how can I claim my bucket list as a tax deduction?
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I've done also. It's, apart from making a business out of it, apart from, inspiring people, but, helping others, fun, adventure, my health, of course. These are and freedom are my deep values. And those are expressed through what you see now as the bucket list guy.
So people listening to this, they're curious to know more about you, maybe sync up with one of your coaches. Where do we send them now that they've been introduced to you and what you do?
Yeah, man. The best place probably to go is www.thebucketlistguy.com. Or if they're keen on learning more about becoming a certified bucket list coach, go to bucketlistcoach.com, and we run 2 webinars each week, one for North America. That's actually tomorrow morning my time, tomorrow night your time. And we run one for Europe. So one for North America, one for Europe every single week, and they're getting fuller and fuller and fuller. So we're putting on more and more coaches around the world each and every week, which is awesome. So they'll get that's an info seminar, but they can connect through there, or Instagram is bucketlistguy.travbell. I probably do most of my direct messaging and stuff through there with people, and feel free to connect with me on there. Or Instagram, what are the other? LinkedIn and also Facebook is Trav Bell the Bucket List Guy. That's probably the best.
Awesome. Well, we'll send people there. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
My pleasure, Miles. Cheers, mate.
All right, that's a wrap on Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy. Love his outlook on life. Do not wait for that expiration date to come knocking. Go out there, write down your bucket list, put it on paper, pen and paper, in real life, and start going after your life. Live the life you want on your own terms. Don't just let life happen to you. So, love this story. Love this guy all the way from Australia. Took the time. So thank you, Trav. Thank you to all of you for listening. If you like this episode, you know someone that needs to hear this message, please share it with them. Please rate and subscribe. All those awesome favors you could do me to help reach more people. I would really appreciate it. So until next time, everybody, cheers.